If you could have told people 10 years ago to put all their money into Netflix because they're going to be ruling Hollywood more or less, everybody would have called you insane. But here we are entering 2019, and Netflix is about to produce 90 movies a year. So I'm not sure if a lot of you know how this works. I've talked about this before, but there's a lot of new subscribers, so I'm going to try to break it down to you guys. Studios are only allowed to put out a certain amount of films per year. This is why Warner Brothers has sub-companies like Lionsgate, for example, right? Or Lionsgate, and there's like, certain ones like Sony has. They have like subdivisions of everything, right? And the reason these companies do this is because they can push their output of movies past a threshold that Hollywood deems acceptable. And that's one way to circumnavigate it, and certainly things have changed in Hollywood with the advent of streaming media. So Netflix recently announced that in 2019, they're going to be putting out 90 original films. Some of these are going to go as high as $200 million. We're talking Avengers budget on Netflix. Now, you have to understand what's happening here. Disney is going to put out 12 movies in 2019 to theaters to fight for your money. Warner Brothers is going to put out 10. Lionsgate will put out 5 or 6. Sony will put out 4 or 5. Because they're all fighting for the same money, right? Netflix doesn't have that problem. Sure, they could toss their movie into a small theater or something if they want, if they get accepted, but they have such a huge install base for what they're doing that even as they're losing content, we know that they're making 500 pieces of original content in 2019. This includes original TV shows and movies. So think about that. 500 new original pieces of content. Sequel seasons, sequel movies, and things like that. So Hollywood is changing so rapidly that this is the future. So when you start to think of, hey, why did they cancel, like all these Marvel shows, you start to understand. They're developing their own stuff. They don't need it. And that kind of paints an interesting picture of what the future of Hollywood is, considering starting the end of this year, Disney is jumping onto the streaming game as well. Because if they're allowed to put 10 to 12 movies out a year, you can be damn well sure that doesn't apply to their own streaming service, where they're going to be putting out a 10 to 12, output per year on top of what they do in theatrical releases. A lot of money to be made. And by 2020, you're looking at an industry that's changed so much, it's going to be unrecognizable.